All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you all. It is Friday, July 31st. August starts tomorrow. That's kind of hard to believe. And we look forward to spending a little time with everyone on our final technical assistance workshop for the implementation of our school site specific protection plans. And as it was last week, we know that kind of the critical topics of the day that we are getting lots of calls on and questions about every day have to do with waivers and the process for waivers, childcare, testing of school staff. So all of those important critical aspects of our community right now are in process. There's no breaking news information that we have to share at this point. And the focus of today is going to be to just have an open dialogue and questions and answers about implementation of the school site specific protection plan and any one of the 30 guidelines that any of the participants want to kind of drill into. What I do want to recognize is since the state and the California Department of Public Health has given us new guidance, we're in the process right now of working with public health on some very specific updates to the current Marin County schools guidance having to do with, face coverings and there's a few other topics that we're going to be updating hopefully in the near future. We're kind of finalizing those updates. But with that, I think what we'll do is just open it up to the group. And again, because we just it looks like we have about 25 people here, it's more of a conversation than a presentation. And, we certainly can use the chat box, but if anyone just would like to unmute themselves and, ask a question or seek clarification or provide suggestions, it's open. It's an open floor right now. So anyone have anyone have a topic they'd like to start with?
Who will be the first?
Okay. I'm sure that there's some questions out there, clarifications. Anyone? Janelle, do you have a question? I see Justin unmuted himself. What's going on, Justin? Happy Friday.
Good morning and happy Friday. Just wondered, and I don't think I was able to be on the last one, so apologies if this is a redundant question, but has the MCOE landed on, for whatever process schools are going to use for when we are back in session, for whether or not touchless temperatures should be taken or not?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, Justin. And it's interesting because the governor, in his proclamation on July 17th, the way he spoke of it was temperatures have to be taken. And so, but then if you look at the detail of the California Department of Public Health guidance, which was also updated on July 17th, it's more permissive. It's if you take a temperature, you should use a touchless thermometer. And then further on July 24th, the Center for Disease Control came out with a new set of recommendations that K-12 schools actually, based on evidence, are not required to do any kind of pre-health screening assessment. So we're trying to rectify. The California Department of Public Health has not responded to that updated CDC guidance. We understand, like, here's the reality. For all of our programs that we've run in the spring and the summer and the pop-up childcare, we have done a very, robust health screening for every kid every day, to the point where our school secretaries are calling families saying, hey, you haven't filled out your health survey this morning. And they have to do it every day. And the process of taking the temperature is such an important kind of visual symbol of this is not business as usual. We are taking precautions. But what the CDC is now saying is that most important is that parents are monitoring their children's health every day in the home and not sending a child to school who is showing any symptoms or being sick at all. And so we are working with Dr. Willis and Dr. Santora right now to update and clarify our guidance on our Marin County public health guidance for schools. So I would say that right now, based on the CDC, based on the California Department of Public Health, and our own public health guidance, that a temperature is not required. But if you do take a temperature, you should use a touchless thermometer. The state of California has provided schools, public and private schools, an allocation of PPE, including touchless thermometers. So I think it's a local decision at this point. And again, I think for our programs, it has been a visual demonstration that we think is a positive, because for staff, for students, for families, they say, okay, we're working hard to make it as safe as possible. But in the end, it is not required. And we also know that for the larger schools of 400, 600, 1,200 students, that the logistic of taking that many temperatures is daunting and overwhelming, and it doesn't need to be. So I hope that helps clarify. Hopefully the new guidance, I think the way that our public health officer is saying is that the daily health screening will be updated based, will be changed. Schools do daily checks based on the most recent public health guidance, is the way they're going to put it. Okay. Other
Thank you very much.
topics? Yeah, no problem, Justin. Anyone else have topics that they'd like to address? I see Dennis on the line there, Dennis Petrie, and the school we have a school transportation task force that Dennis has been a part of, and we are getting closer to being able to finalize and clarify that. The urgency of that final guidance for school transportation has diminished because of the new state requirements and the fact that for the most part, unless there's a waiver, school site-based instruction will start at the earliest after Labor Day. But we still know that the transportation, clarity on the transportation guidance will impact school schedules and bell schedules and so forth. So we're working on that. We're hoping to get something out by the end of the first week, by the end of next week.
And Mike, there's a question from Sarah. Do you have a date for when we'll have new guidance from our public health department?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a specific date. I'm thinking that next week we'll have an updated guidance. I mean, our public health officer and deputy health officer, they're waiting for more specific guidance from the state. So, but I know that August is upon us, and I'm hoping by next week we'll be able to release something and update it. Okay. Other questions or topics from anyone in the group? Again, you can unmute yourself or use okay, what is the latest news on childcare? So this for us, I think we've probably received more questions about childcare than any other topic, right alongside with waivers. And so, childcare is not our expertise. We are schools. We do TK through 12, and so we know it's so closely intertwined. The Marin Child Care Council is our local agency who handles all child care licensings related questions, and so we're diverting child care questions to the Marin Child Care Council. Michelle Tyler, and maybe we can pull up her phone number and email and put it in the chat here. But she has said, send them to me. We'll do the best we can. In the same way that schools are waiting for clarification on guidance, childcare is doing the same. And the thinking is that the way that childcare has operated, the guidance that childcare has operated since the shelter-in-place first started in the middle of March and has carried through the summer, will continue until we're told otherwise. So which is cohorts of 12, or in their case it's actually 10 for licensed child care providers with stable staff. But they're the Marin Child Care Council is your source. Face coverings, that's another great topic. So yeah, so face coverings, obviously the big shift that happened with the state guidance is now it's required for students 3 through 12. Students who are TK through second are highly encouraged, but only if they can wear it properly. There is some language for the TK12 group that if they can't wear a cloth face or a face covering properly, that a face shield is a reasonable would work for them as well, better than no covering at all. And we still have we still have the authorization from our public health that the face shields with a cloth covering are is an acceptable alternative to a face covering. So this is the Humanity Shield, which is actually quite comfortable. For me, it's more comfortable once you get it on. It's more comfortable than a face covering, and this is an acceptable alternative to a face covering. So we've gotten these for our students and our staff, particularly for speech and language pathologists, and you can see the expression in your face. So they are not inexpensive. It's a cost as a consideration, but they are an option.
Mike, I have a quick question on the face shield issue. This is Peg Sandell from Brandeis Marin. It's my understanding that the guidelines for Marin County haven't changed, the 30 guidelines, and those still say require face covering for everybody pre-K through 12. And so it's my understanding that the local jurisdiction can be more strict than a state jurisdiction, and that hasn't lifted. And therefore we're operating under that guidance that it is required pre-K through 12. Is that your understanding, or are you thinking Marin is going to change its 30 guidelines?
Marin is going to change. I mean, we're in the process right now of working with Dr. Willis and Dr. Santora to update that to align it with the state. You're right, the way it reads right now, it's more restrictive, but we're finalizing that right now, and again, hope to get that out shortly. It will align with the state.
Thank you. Is there anything else top line like that you're anticipating changes coming down?
Let's just see here. Well, the big one, which I mentioned earlier, is around the health screening, and that there's a discussion right now about there is inconsistency between the updated CDC guidance, which is basically say you don't have to do health screening. In fact, it's counterproductive, and it's best to have parents do that at home, do their own health screening. And then the California Department of Public Health is more prescriptive, and we still have we've been doing our normal, thorough health screening every day, and a student can't come in unless they've been screened. So that's the other kind of top line one that's being adjusted right now. And it's probably going to be along the lines of health screening. Schools will conduct daily health screening according to current and updated public health guidance as it changes, because that's one that's changing right now. Okay, thank you. Peg?
Hey, Mike?
Yes.
Sorry to jump in again, just because you brought it up and showed it. And again, I really hope, if this is not an appropriate thing here, please just stop me. But regarding the Humanity Shields, personally, I was extraordinarily, I believe that the pricing for those things is tantamount to pandemic profiteering. Truly, I think it's really absurd. So we are engaged in a process of actually creating our own.
That's great.
For a much lower price point. And if anyone is interested, I've got an example here.
Nice.
And we're able to source the supplies and make them for, my guess is somewhere around the order of $4 to $5 a piece.
Great.
So if anyone is interested and it's not violating some of your guidelines or something, I would be more than happy to share with the community.
That's great. Absolutely. I mean, I commend you on your, on your initiative, and it is the case that they're expensive, and whether they're profiteering, I don't know. They make a good product and they're putting them out in volume. So I don't. They're made in Alaska. So but yeah, obviously for all schools, we're trying to be as cost effective as we can, and there's just not a lot of competition out there besides your initiative there. So thank you, Justin. Please do share it. Other questions?
Yes, there are. The question regarding testing, will teachers be required to have COVID testing prior to the start of the year?
Yeah, and so this is one that we need to get clarity on. Well, the guidance right now is it's not required; it's highly encouraged, and every school staff member is going to be encouraged as an essential worker to be tested. And the way that, see, how does it read right now? So this is, can someone tell me which guideline this is? This is 18, did you say? Oh, number 8. Okay. So the way that it reads is this. Can you bring it up, Melina? So it says schools and districts will cooperate with public health to support testing strategies to mitigate transmission of COVID-19, including testing for staff at the beginning of the school year, and then no less than once every 2 months. This may include testing of students with appropriate parental permissions obtained in advance. So the way that we're thinking of it is that it's not required, but it's highly encouraged. And the most important question right now is the logistics of how we can make that happen. Testing has been a huge challenge nationally, in the state, and locally. There's been some great progress in Marin County on both the capacity for doing the tests and the capacity for quick turnaround of the tests. And what we're trying to get set up with public health support and our local healthcare providers is, the 5 different options that, or 7 different options that school staff have, and how you can sign up, register, get tested in a timely manner, in advance of your first day of in-person, site-based classroom instruction. So we're working on that strategy right now. Again, this is something that once we get clarity on, we're going to send it out to everyone. I know, we're hearing from, I know that some schools I've heard are hiring their own test, test providers and who have their own processing labs. So the main point is that ideally every school staff member who has regular contacts with kids will get tested before the school year, and then at least every 2 months. Highly encouraged optional activity. Does that answer the question? Okay. So if I see one here, if the county receives a waiver to return children to the classroom, will that affect after school recreation activities? I don't think so. It's a good question. I think that school and after school activities are 2 separate kind of buckets of regulations, and the child care regulations will include after school recreation activities, and and they will be interrelated to some degree, but the waiver is purely for site-based classroom instruction, is my understanding. Other questions, you guys, on the last Friday in July? Okay. So, I guess, at this point, and I know that everyone is gearing up to have staff return and, and gear up for the school year as it starts. And I know that we were talking yesterday afternoon among our team about, there is just this wonder and curiosity, and what is the next month of our lives going to look like in our community, in our schools, and there are a lot of unknowns. And so I know that there's a real focus on supporting, the quality of distance learning and remote learning as pretty much everyone's going to do through now and Labor Day. But in the meantime, I guess what I really want to emphasize is the more that you can do with your staff to review, finalize, and update your school site specific protection plan and engage them in that process, the more effective it will be and the more comfortable and safe your families and staff will feel for the day that the students return. And so what I was just speaking with the superintendent of our rural school districts, and they've drafted their plan, and what you want is you want it to be scrutinized, and you want it to, like, I don't understand how we're meeting this guideline. What are we going to do? And the more it's scrutinized, the better, because then you can get clarification and you can get input and get that clarity that the staff and the parents want to see, to know that we're doing everything we can to make school. I mean, what we realized here is that we're acting as if every teacher, every student, every staff member is an asymptomatic carrier of COVID-19. That's how we need to act, so that if there is a person that's positive, we've done so well with our procedures of washing our hands and covering our face and maintaining physical distance, that there will not be transmission, that all the things that we're doing are helping to really contain this virus. And so that's what we want to do. So I see some other things have come up. There's a training next week. Michelle, do you want to talk about that?
Sure, I'd love to talk about it. So we're creating this great training. I'm going to share my screen so you can see the website with information. So it's TK to 12 educators. Next week it starts. We have 5 full days. We've partnered with Youth and Arts, with Discovery Museum, with UC Berkeley, and it's all about project-based, inquiry-based. We're integrating social emotional learning, bringing in COVID-19, our own narratives of what COVID-19 has meant for us and how we've come through COVID-19 or are coming through, integrating the 5 components of SEL. And then we're really going to be focusing on best practices for virtual and distance learning, utilizing outdoor space. So it's all about the return of the sea otters, which is sort of a phenomena happening here in Marin County. So we're making it local, and we'd love to have your teachers. Right now we have around 70 teachers, and for the most part, the teachers will be starting with everyone together, and then they will break out into grade levels, TK to 2, and then 3rd and beyond. So we'd love for your teachers to join us. It's a free workshop, and we are also offering Dominican units.
Okay, thank you for that information, Michelle. And so is it all day? Like, what are the hours of the workshops next week?
Yeah, so let's see the schedule. So we start at 8:30 and we end around 3 on Monday, but the rest of the days kind of go till 2:15. So, and teachers can really come in and out. All of the Zooms are going to be recorded. So if a teacher isn't able to make, several of the sessions, that's okay. They can watch it later, because they kind of do all connect. But they're more than welcome to come in and out as they need, as they are able.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. So unless there's any other questions, I want to, let you guys know that, Michelle, Melina, Patrick, and I are here. We're still using the rapid response at marinschools.org email. We're trying to be as responsive as we can to questions that come up. We will, we'll continue to be available by phone or email, and we really appreciate each of you and the time that you're taking to help our community and help our staff and students for a return to site-based classroom instruction in the safest possible way, with COVID-19 still active in our community. And we're confident that by working together, that we can provide a safe place for our kids and staff to teach and learn. And if there's any suggestions or questions, please send them our way. Other than that, We appreciate you being here. Have a great day, you guys.
There's one more question, Mike.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
So it asked the question about when will the decision about going back to school or remaining virtual after the 8th be made? Obviously, it depends on the watch list, but is there any idea of a date that you have in mind?
Yeah, I think that is the case. I think at this point, until we receive any new guidance from the state, it is very much based on being off the watch list for 14 days. And as soon as we're off the watch list for 14 days, any school, any district can make their own decision to return to site-based classroom instruction. The only way to return in advance of that date will be to submit and get approval for a waiver, which everybody wants to know how do you get a waiver, and we're trying to organize that. It's up to public health, but as soon as we get that out. So the answer being, we don't have a date. There's no date right now. It's really the most important thing is that we as a community need to work together to get our transmission rate down so that we get under the threshold of 100 new coronavirus cases over the past 14 days per 100,000 people. So that's the threshold, and we're going to be watching that closely and helping get the word out about what we can. Well, the most important thing is to keep doing what we're doing. Wear your face coverings, do social distancing, wash your hands, don't go to large gatherings, and that's how we can do it. Together, we can do it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
What happens if we accomplish all of that and then we end up back on the watch list?
Well, then there's a very specific, if we go back on the watch list, there is an actual percentage. If it is 5% of any school, 5% of the population of any school is COVID-19 positive, that school's shut down. And then there's another formula. Michelle or Melina, do you know what the other one is? There's, for a district, there's another district level. If 10% of every district, we'll get that information out to you. But there's two thresholds.
25, if 25% of your schools are shut down, then the district
shuts down. Yeah, so those are the two thresholds. So once we're off the watch list and schools reopen, then it's all about contact tracing, and there's a very specific actions that you take according to our protocols, where if a student or staff member from a classroom is COVID positive, then that classroom is closed, but the rest of the school remains open and contact tracing is performed.
And Mike, do you know if that includes independent, parochial, and private schools? Are they committed to that 25% as well?
Yes.
And if they're in that district? Yeah,
whether it's the rules apply to both public, private, independent, parochial schools. Everyone's involved. Okay. Okay, you guys, thank you so much again for being here. Feel free to call us or email us if you have other questions or suggestions, and we appreciate all you're doing. You guys have a great day.
Not yet. I want to just make sure she sees my note okay.
All right, let me write that down.
Oh, good, Danielle, you're still here. Okay, good.
I am.
Rapid response at marinschools.org. And if you clicked on any of those links to our website, you can find our email there as well.
Okay, great. Someone forwarded me this meeting, so I just want to get on the mailing list,
Great.
email list. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.